Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, and welcome to 2025. It's your host, Helen Edwards, and
January Liddell. Aloha, everyone.
today we are actually going to be talking about the year you break the rules and create your charmed life. And there's a couple things we're going to go over, but first, let's define charmed. So charmed actually means unusually lucky or happy, as though protected by magic. So this is kind of like a fun title for us to get into. And me and January are going to give you some of our own tips, tricks, and some valuable information to help create your charmed life this year. So what's up, January?
I love this topic, and I love this topic because we are starting the new year. I'm really excited for us to talk about breaking the rules. So breaking the rules, stepping out of our comfort zone and living our charmed life. Excuse me. So let's talk about breaking free from limiting beliefs. And that is something that I am still working on. And I'm still working on it. Yesterday, I had this meeting with the mind engineer. His name is Tommy. Absolutely love this guy. He asks a lot of questions that I should know. Like, he's completely different from a psychologist or as a therapist. He doesn't sugarcoat anything, which I love. And he brings me back to my childhood. And it's fascinating because a lot of our limiting beliefs start from our childhood. And I actually did not think it in that way. I did not think that my childhood reflects who I am at this very moment. And so I did a little bit of research about childhood, right? Because that's a part of breaking beliefs is really understanding and being aware of where these limiting beliefs come from. And here's what I found. Okay, so there's a quote that I like: "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." So that's Henry Ford. Dove found that 60% of women who have low self-esteem was due to cultural or societal pressures. So, and then mindset is transformative. According to Carol Dweck, author of Mindset, individuals with a growth mindset are 40% more likely to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals than those with a fixed mindset. So I thought it was very appropriate because we have to be aware of where these limiting beliefs come from. So that was one thing that I'm learning, is that figure out where these limiting beliefs are coming from, ask those questions, and hug that little, so I call myself the little January. So hug that little January and tell her, it's okay, and acknowledge. So that is one thing that I'm learning to break free of my limiting beliefs, is just being aware. How about you, Helen? What are you doing, or how did you break free of your limiting beliefs?
I love that you wrote those down and you shared those with us. The three that I came up with, well, I shouldn't say I came up with, that research shows the three most used limiting beliefs for women over 35, especially. Number one, it's too late for me to start over. Number two, I need to act and dress my age, or I'm not as attractive as I once was. And three, my goals and obligations take priority over my self-care. That's just a straightforward, like, that's how it is sometimes for all of us. And we know personally, we battled a lot of that last year. One of the things I think really stuck out to me was it's too late for me to start over, because I think it was a year and a half ago, I let go of my 7-year LLC, which defined me a lot. That was like my business. That's what I was so proud of. I started it, I helped it grow, and then I had to let it go. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm starting over. Like, I'm in my 40s. What the heck? And then the other one was I need to dress or I need to act and dress my age. Like, I think we use that a lot, but I mean, it is important to level up and find what makes us feel good, what makes us feel like a boss woman, what makes us feel secure and safe also. But what's attached to that is I'm not attractive as I once was. We always think, you can catch yourself saying, oh yeah, in my 20s, I used to be so free and dress sexy. And that's another thing. It's like that is a limiting belief as we get older because there is a way to dress sexy for yourself and to define yourself as sexy. I mean, a lot of people have said, I feel sexy wearing my hair in a bun and wearing sweats, watching Netflix. I feel sexy. So I think that these limiting beliefs, if we just define them and we just grab them and say, hey, no mas, no more, not this year. I'm going to just acknowledge that limiting belief and say to myself, I don't think I want to go by that. I don't think I want that to get in my way. And that actually goes into the third one, which is allowing your goals and obligations to take priority over your self-care. Your self-care, part of self-care is that growth mindset that you were just talking about, January.
For sure, because once we self-care, and that is exactly the route that I have been taking since last year, because that was such an eye-opening thing for me, is that I'm realizing as we get older, sometimes our mind doesn't align with our bodies. And so our minds can say, go, 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 you can do this. But our bodies are just like, I don't want to do this. And so I'm learning now to really be more self-aware. And that took a step back to, I need to really self-care. And I was forced to. So I was forced to self-care. So you know, God is going to transpire. Like the things are going to transpire in your case where you are actually forced to self-care. And so really now is the time to take that initiative for yourself to self-care instead of your body saying, I'm going to do it for you and I'm going to let you stay back and not do anything. And that was very debilitating for me. And it was debilitating for me because I wasn't used to that kind of lifestyle where I had to just sit still and be quiet and let my body rest and heal. And I think as we get older, for me at least, our bodies are going to they're going to tell us that. They're actually going to show you like you need to do self-care. And self-care is very important. It's going to help you with your growth mindset. It is also going to help you reflect, reflect on really what's important. And I like what you said about the goals and how like we do prioritize goals before self-care because I know that is exactly what I was doing. I was hustle, 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 hustle without the self-care. I was running 24/7, like, let's go, let's go. And I'm realizing that as I do this, I'm neglecting me and I'm neglecting like who I am and really caring for, my mind and my mental. And so breaking free of limiting beliefs, what I like what you said, Helen, is that we should outline all of our limiting beliefs. Like we should actually write it down. Write it down so then we can strategize how to combat those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, I really think we need to reach in ourselves and grab that inner wild child, that inner rebellious child or rebellious teenager, or even that, because we all have had, or I want to believe that we all have, I know I have had that phase in life where we're rebellious. We are like at our peak state. We're like ready to fight and just say, I want to be who I want to be, and nobody's going to tell me who I'm going to be. And we get crazy with it in a good and passionate way. And I want to invite everybody to reach in and grab that person and let that person just flow with the writing, write down the limiting beliefs, and also think about Charmed. Okay, this is the title, Charmed Life. Magical, inspirational. So let's talk about that for a second here. Define your version of a charmed life, of that magical life. What does that look like for you? What does that feel like for you? And when it comes to, if you're driving and listening to this, maybe answer in your mind. Like, what are filling words? Filling words such as if you visualize yourself dancing in front of the sunrise, something I do a lot. What does that feel like? Does it feel magical? Does it feel free? Do you feel alive? Do you feel the color yellow? What does that feel like to you? You get to define your own version of your charmed life.
Imagination. I feel like when we get older, we lose a lot of our imagination because we're so stuck in the mundane life and duties that we have to fulfill as a wife, as a mom, as somebody who's working, we just have to, it's like a hamster wheel, and we're just running around in this hamster wheel, just doing the same thing over and over again. And we're not as imaginative as we were when we were kids. And I know when I was a kid, I imagined a lot. And I had great imagination. And now in my adult life, I am now cultivating that. And I'm cultivating that because I'm realizing that a charmed life is something that you set your own terms for that. You decide, you create it, you decide what is the life that I want to live. And a charmed life to me, it means that it's something that I created on my own accord. It's freedom. It's the ability to just do whatever. Like I said, freedom. So it's with ease, success, happiness. That to me is my charmed life, is that it's very easy flowing. It's full of freedom. It's full of carefreeness, because that is who I am, and that is my charmed life. But everyone gets to decide what is your charmed life.
Yeah, you actually said the word free like 5 times. So something tells me that your higher consciousness or your spirit is really seeking more freedom. And one of the things I've really been sitting down with myself and kind of conversating with my own self is you are a queen. You know more. You know stuff. Step into your queendom, step into your knowledge, step into what you actually have to offer and give, and step out of the box because I love self improvement. I love self development. We do a lot of our episodes on that, but that can also become institutionalized or structured where we are staying in between the lines. And breaking the rules means stepping out of the lines, even with self improvement, even with structure. Like step out, live a little bit more, feel a little bit more fantastic, stretch your ideas. I love that you mentioned imagination, like dig deep. Imagine you are the I am. You are made in the creator's image. That means you are creator. You can dig in and create more of whatever you are seeking to create or draw or visualize or color, design. Think of the word design. Design your life.
I used to be that type of girl that goes to church every Sunday. And that was very, very important for me to go to church, be in service at church. Once I had my illness and I was stuck at home just healing, I realized that I was just following that hamster wheel. I realized that I was just doing things that I thought was vital or important, or I thought that that is what defined me. And I will say this, I haven't actually gone to church in quite some time. I will go every now and then. But I'm realizing that I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, because church was my comfort zone. And I'm stepping out of it because I'm realizing that God is so much bigger than church. He's not confined in just one building. God is everywhere. And it's such a freeing feeling to not have to, and I don't want to say stuck because that's not the right word, but to be obligated. I guess I felt obligated to go to church because it felt like that's what my spirit needed. But as I stepped away from the church and I stepped away from just organized things and really just be me and just sit still, I can hear God a lot clearer. It's crazy. I don't understand it, but and I feel more closer to God because I stepped away. Sometimes there's like so much noise, there's all this chaos, and there's a lot of little like things just like whispering in your ears, and you get distracted. There's a lot of distractions in our world, and so we sometimes get funneled into all of those things because we are so distracted by everything that's around us, which is why later on the podcast that I want to talk about is being still, because I feel like if you want that charmed life, if you want to break free of your limiting beliefs, you have to be still. You have to be quiet and just tune in to your soul, tune into who you truly are inside, because we get so wrapped up with everything that's going on around us that we don't actually cultivate like our own soul because we're so busy cultivating everybody else.
Yes, yes, and it actually talks a lot about that in many books I have read about getting closer to the higher conscious or reprogramming your subconscious mind is very important that you do take time to stay still, to listen, meditation, prayer, things like that. Yes, so I definitely believe in that also. So another thing with breaking the rules and stepping into your charmed life is the power of saying no to others and yes to yourself, creating boundaries, prioritizing self care, like we talked about earlier, overcoming guilt or fear in disappointing others, and how saying no to others can lead to a greater freedom. Again, the word freedom for yourself. And one of the examples I want to use here is saying no to when people ask for or want to borrow money. And I think that's a big one. Another big one is when people they ask you for a little, they're small little, what do they call it? Like, can I get a ride? Or can you watch my kids? Or what would you call that? Small
As
ask.
requests, so small requests, I totally get the whole ride situation. And let me tell you, yesterday I had to think, why am I dropping off this child? So we are carpooling with somebody, right? And I know they had requested that we drop him off one time, and I mentioned, "Oh, if you need help, I can drop you off." Anyway, we ended up dropping off this child more like consecutively. And then yesterday I realized, why are we dropping him off? And the reason why I asked that question, why are we dropping him off, is because I saw mom and dad in the car and they were there. And I said, why didn't they just drop their child off? It didn't make sense to me. And so I messaged the parent and I said, hey, I was just wondering, why was I dropping, why do you need me to drop off your son? It was very freeing for me, and it was freeing for me because you're right, Helen. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's just the little request, that makes a lot of sense because then it can lead to something more, not just the request, but yeah, it can prolong it.
The word came to me. What people ask are small favors. Can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor? And we all do it. We're all guilty and sometimes not guilty. It's actually a real thing that we need, a small favor or a big favor. And we ask it. But here's the thing. Many people don't say no because they feel like that one, they're going to feel bad if they say no. Two, they're going to feel like, well, what if I say no and then I need a favor? And they're going to say no because I said no, right? Or they're afraid to say no because they're people pleasers. So when you want to say no, when something feels uncomfortable, it's one of the first things that I actually, because I used to be a major people pleaser. And then I started reading books about people pleasing, and I was like, nope, this is not going to work for me. Saying no is very powerful. Saying no is a complete sentence. I learned how to say no or give an answer without explaining why I'm giving that answer or why I'm giving that no. And let me tell you something. I notice when a lot of people aren't able to do that, I notice it right away. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like me. I used to be like that. I don't try to fix them. I'm aware of it. And I'm grateful that I'm not in that place anymore because I can tell you it's a very powerful, a very freeing place to be able to say no without explaining why. And also out of love. You're doing it in a loving with love for yourself and actually sometimes love for them to say it intentionally no. And not saying you always have to say no. Some people, what I like somebody once said to me, another friend of mine who is really good at saying no and standing in her power. She said instead of saying no all the time, she does say no, but when she really is kind of, on the teeter-totter of saying no, she says, let me think about it, let me meditate over it, or let me pray over it. And that allows space for her to really see if that's something she intentionally can do with the good vibes or good intention for herself. Because can you imagine somebody saying no and they're just like, they start holding resentment towards you when they really wanted to say no? That's an awful place to be, especially amongst friends and family.
It is definitely a hard word to share or to say with friends and family, especially those that you're very close to. And I am learning to do that. So I'm learning to say no, especially to my children. So my children will say, "Can you buy me this? Can you buy me that?" And and there are moments where it is warranted to maybe buy something, but majority of the times it's always a no. So I am practicing the no's within my family without feeling, bad about it. And but there's definitely a delicate way to say it so that it's not so harsh between friends and family. And it's okay. It's very freeing to say no, actually, and be okay with it. I said no a lot of times last year because of just how I was feeling, and no was okay. And I'm learning to be fine, to be okay, to be in that space of it's okay to say no, and that is very it's a self-care situation for me too, because there are moments where I get invited to things and I just don't feel it. I don't feel like going because I need to self-care.
I want to talk more about the power of no in another episode. I think we're going to hold a lot of what we want to say off because we have more to get to with this one. But I'm going to just mention one more thing to people because I think this is appropriate. When you're starting off, because some people are like, how do you start off saying no? Like, how do you do it? When I first started saying no, they were very long no's because in my mind, I'm holding myself back from explaining. So I was like, somebody would say, "Hey, do you got $10 I can borrow?" And I'd start going, "No." Like like it turned into a question at the very end, no question mark. And then I'd just be really quiet and they were like, "So no or no maybe?" And I was like, and I always did that too with my teeth. Like, because you're kind of fighting with yourself. So I just thought that was really funny. That's how I first started saying my no's.
Oh my gosh, that is the hardest word to say, especially for us people pleasers. Saying no, you're right. You have to start somewhere. So if you're gonna start, make it a long one and with a question mark. That's so funny.
All right. So the fourth thing we want to talk about is taking bold risks and embracing the unknown. In January, actually, you touched on it earlier, stepping out of your comfort zone and also recognizing the fears that are associated with risk taking and learn how to reframe them, or like Tony Robbins likes to say, dance with your fears.
So let me share. I talked to the mind engineer. If you haven't talked to the mind engineer, you really should have a conversation with him. There's a free consultation with Tommy. I really enjoyed talking with him. Okay, so the mind engineer, his name is Tommy. I don't get paid for this, but I really like having a conversation with him. What I like about him is he really asks me deep questions about things. And a lot of the times it does go back to my childhood. And I didn't realize that a lot of my limiting beliefs, a lot of not stepping out of my comfort zone and feeling that fear was based on my childhood. And so, okay, so for example, I had a traumatic memory when I was a child. And for the longest time, over 40 years, I had this memory, and that was the memory that I thought of was this particular memory. Well, Tommy brought me into this visualization, into this exercise where the adult, is is in that memory. And I have a conversation with these individuals, right? Long story short, that traumatic memory that I had back when I was 3 is no longer that memory. It's crazy. Now I actually envision my adult self in that memory. And so Tommy helped me calm that particular situation down. And now I don't even think about that memory as a traumatic memory. I'm actually okay with that memory now. And I acknowledge it, and I feel good. I feel good about that memory. In any case, the whole idea of breaking out, breaking free, and let me just make sure I have it, taking bold risk and embracing the unknown. It really starts with defining what it is that you are afraid of. And is it fear, and what is the feeling? What are the feelings that come up with all of these fears that are coming out? Why are you afraid of it? So that is the one thing I do enjoy talking to Tommy, is that he helps me progressively get rid of that fear, which is pretty phenomenal. And it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of really digging into why. Why is it that you're afraid of flying? Why is it that you're afraid of ketchup? Why is it that you're afraid of stepping into yourself, your true self? And it's vital for us to really discuss it. And I don't think I didn't know how to do it. So it was good to have somebody help me do that.
There's this book about this girl who's in these relationships, and she keeps finding herself in the same type of relationships over and over, and she doesn't know how to break out of it. And in this book, she talks about how she broke out of these relationships because she was afraid to be on her own, especially when the men that she was in these relationships with were the breadwinners. They controlled a lot of the finances. She didn't know how to do a lot of that. She didn't know if she could survive on her own. She also didn't know what she wanted to do in life. So she was also dealing with her own personal uh, demons and struggles, and trying to figure out how to just stand on her own 2 feet and also live the life that she wanted to live, which she wanted to travel. She wanted to dance more. She wanted to dance on the mountains and drink wine and have fun and create all these memories with her friends. And she didn't know how to do that. And she was really, really afraid. And she also had a child. So then she was dealing with motherhood on, is she a bad mom for wanting these things? Is she a good mom for trying to take care? Like, she really battled with all of these struggles. And then she wanted her own business, and she didn't know anything about business. She didn't know anything about taxes. She didn't know how to move forward. And every single time she tried to step forward, something happened. She was constantly struggling. And so she decided to write a book about it. And she didn't even know where the book was going to go in her life. And she seriously just was always screaming, always crying, always afraid, always negative self-talk, always putting herself down, just weaving in and out, up and down. I mean, the cycle of a hamster over and over and over again. And then she found her way. She found her way. She figured it out through the ups and downs and the struggles. And she did all of this by taking risks, not knowing what was on the other side, but trusting and having faith in herself and a higher spirit, a higher consciousness, God, if you like to call it also, that she was going to make it somehow, some way. And doors started opening. Even though she was on this hamster cycle, doors opened and she jumped through. She was just so desperate to have a different life. That book is called Nothing Sexier Than Freedom. And I know this because I wrote it. January is laughing because she's like, I've heard this story. And it's a story we can all relate to. If somebody can do it, you can do it. And I really highly recommend this book, not just because it's my book, but because I've been through it. I know what a lot of people are going through, and I know how scary it is to take risks when you feel like you don't have the money, when you feel like you don't have the knowledge, when you feel like you have another smaller person to take care of, and you don't even know if you're good at that. So listen to me when I say this. If you don't take the risk, you won't know what you don't know. Just do it and have faith in yourself and trust the process. Doors will open. They will, because the universe has got your back. God's got your back. And I truly believe this, and I still believe that faith, you need faith in your corner. If it's not in your corner, put it there. Put it there because faith will help you walk through those doors of taking risks.
Ooh, okay, mic drop. Faith is important. It's so vital in life. Faith in yourself, faith in God, faith in what you're doing. It's huge. I'm a testimony to that because I'm a risk taker just like Helen. I take a lot of risks because I feel that on the other side of it, there's something bigger. There's something waiting for me. So my story is that when I was 23, I moved to Hawaii with $200 in my bank account. $200. And at the time, I actually wasn't able to truly work because I didn't have all of the credentials that I needed. And so taking that risk to just go and just have faith that God is going to take care of me, that was huge for me. And that was huge because $200. Hawaii is one of the most expensive states. But I trusted that God will take care of me. And so here I am. What is it? 20 something years later, right? 20 something years later. And I have my house here. We have a car. We have family. Everything's good. So I trusted the process and I stepped out of that comfort zone of, oh my gosh, I only had $200 in my bank account. But I was able to survive. I was able to overcome and thrive. So I not just overcome, not just survive, but thrive in a place where I just came with $200 in my account. So there's a lot of different risk taking. Even being an author is a risk taking situation because once you're an author, you are vulnerable. You are just out there and you're allowing other people to give you feedback, other people to criticize your work, to criticize who you are. So that is a very that for me before that was a limiting belief. That was let me not do this. Let me just be quiet and but here I am. I stepped out of that and I became an author, much like Helen. And being stepping out of that comfort zone, stepping out of that little circle that we create for ourselves is a big thing. It's so huge because once you step out of it and once you calm your fears and you tell your fears, nope, I am not letting you control me. Nope, fears, and that's another no, right? So no fears, not today, fears. I am going to step out because I know that there's something waiting for me right when I step out of this. There is something amazing waiting for me. But you have to have that imagination. You have to have that vision that something is there. It's there as long as you step out of your fear.
I actually re-listened to an episode with me and my sister because I was having a conversation with her. Her name's Kathy Frankel. And I said, oh, we need to do another episode. You have grown so much. So if you want to go back and listen to my sister Kathy, her story is phenomenal. She owned a ton of real estate. She still does. And then she retired at the age of 35, I want to say. And then her retirement job, she decided to become a pilot. Okay? Very inspirational. Her first episode she did with me is episode number 20. That's called Multi-Business Success Story. That's when she was just in real estate, and then she retired. And then episode 39 is Becoming a Pilot with Kathy Frankel. Please listen to that because like I said, it's very inspirational even to me, even listening to it years later. And I got to tell you, I wrote down two quotes that really just grabbed me. The first one she says is, live unapologetically. Don't apologize to anybody. Don't look at anybody and try to measure yourself against them saying, well, what's the right way to do it? There is no right way to do it. The right way is you getting to where you get and having achieved your goal. You did it the right way because you got there. The second thing she says is, go ahead and take advice from everybody. Take advice from anybody. Keep what you can use, throw away the rest. I love that.
Nice one, Kathy. Kathy, I hope you're listening to this. Kathy is very inspirational. I enjoyed my time spending with her and her husband David just a month or two ago. Oh, I guess it was a month ago. And you're right. She is very inspirational. I am amazed at just what she's accomplished at such a young life. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. There's so many stories of people who have stepped outside of their comfort zone, and I bet you, our listeners that are tuning in at this very moment, you have a story to share, and we would love to hear that. So please post it on, if you're a part of Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed, please post it there. We'd love to hear your testimony of how you broke free from fear and you stepped out of that zone and into your greatness.
Yes. Okay. So the last thing we want to talk about with our title, The Year You Break the Rules and Create Your Charmed Life, is celebrate the wins and practice gratitude. We really want to acknowledge the importance of celebrating and acknowledging your small and big victories, and how gratitude can shift your perspective and increase your motivation, increase your inspiration, increase and mood boost everything in your life. It is exceptional, and it's very telling how gratitude has what's the word? January.
So gratitude changes your attitude. And gratitude is so vital. It's something that I actually do with my children every day. I do it for myself every day. So the questions that we ask, that I ask the kids are, one, what are you grateful for? What are three things you're grateful for? That is the question. And I ask that question every day because there is something to be grateful for. Let's look at the opposite side of that. If you are thinking negative thoughts, oh my gosh, I have to go to work. Oh my gosh, there's traffic. Oh my gosh, I have to put on this thing. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And you're thinking all these negative things, then your body and the universe, everything around you, there, it's just going to react to whatever you are telling yourself. So when you tell yourself, I am so tired of this work, I am so tired of whatever it is. Oh, I look fat. Oh, I look fat. And you're complaining, then that's all everything is going to react to what you're saying. And if you want that charmed life, then that negative talk, that negative self-talk, the complaining is not going to lead you to your charmed life. Those complaints, albeit small, okay, because it's everything from small to large, right? So complaints like, oh, I hate living in this city, or I hate, I don't know what it is, but something, right? Something that you are complaining about. Those little things add up. They add up to bigger things. So catch yourself whenever you are saying a complaint, whenever you're saying something negative towards yourself, towards others, those little things are going to add up. And if you want the charmed life, but you're talking all these other things, complaints and negative self-talk, that charmed life will not be there. It won't. You're not going to attain it. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's reality. Reality is that once you elevate your gratitude, once you elevate from that negative self-talk and you're talking, I am grateful for, and there's so many things. I'm grateful for water. We have running water. I lived in the Philippines for 2 months, and granted, my family had water. My parents have running showers and all that. But when you step out of there, there are people, who have a bucket and they're washing outside in the area, and they're just washing with a it's called a tabo, a little bucket. And we in America have a shower. We in America have hot water. So even just that, as simple as a hot water. And I think a lot of the times we forget that there's all these simple things that we should be thankful for. I got up. Oh, I have a bed. There are people out there that don't have a bed. So there's a lot of things to be thankful for. And once you elevate that, then that charmed life is a lot more attainable for you. So if you are saying, I want a charmed life, I want ease and flow, then you need to elevate your gratitude. So gratitude changes your attitude.
Absolutely. Something that I usually think on is our sisters out there in other countries who do not get the chance to go to school, do not get the education, who are very suppressed, who where beating, stoning, even murdering is legal for some men to do to these women based on religion or based on whatever it is. I mean, it's even hidden in the dark secrets of America. And I always think like I've got sisters out there who are suffering, and yet I'm over here complaining about clothes. I'm complaining about that trip. I wanted to do this trip, or I didn't get this, or it's like, whoa, whoa, ungrateful. Whoa, entitlement. Whoa, you stop that right now. And I always think to myself, be better, do better for your sisters who are unable to. Because when you get to the point where you can do better and you start bringing in more a more financial amount, then you can actually do something. You can be a part of the change in a greater way. But it really starts with what January said, the attitude of gratitude. And then also have fun with it. Like sometimes I tell myself like, "Oh my gosh, have fun. Where's the playfulness? Where's the playfulness?" Okay? Like girl, have fun. Like you are taking life way too seriously right now. If you got told that you have 1 week to live, you are not even going to be bothered by all the small stuff. You're going to be like, "Okay, let's have fun. Let's get ready to rumble." That's where it's at. Meet yourself on the playground. Enjoy life a little bit more because just for the simple fact that you can where some can't.
That was powerful, Helen. I think we create our own. We create our own charmed life. And I think um, everybody has the ability to make choices, right? So we can make our own choices. However, I think, and I will say this, when you're in a marriage, there is, you're like partnered with somebody else, and there has to be some kind of a mutual agreement with the both of you, right? So when things that's another topic, because yes, I we need to talk about marriage. I think that's another topic to talk about, because that whole alignment of, yeah, you should be free to go do whatever and fly and, travel and do whatever you want. I feel like there's another layer to that. but there are different responsibilities and things like that. So I think it's a little bit more challenging for some people. For others, I think it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like a different dynamic. There's a dynamic of some families that are able to just go and just do whatever, right? And that's totally fine because they're in that realm. Then there's families that are unable to do whatever because they have other things that they have to take care of, and there's another human being that's there, and whatever that human being is feeling, we gotta align with that other human being. It's a challenging situation.
I think it goes back to defining your own charmed life. And what I was trying to talk about actually was more on the idea of what you passionately in that desire that's on fire of what you truly want to do with your life. It has no reflection on anybody who is being told no or anything like that from their partner. It's more on what do you truly desire as an individual. And I remember being in relationships where I wanted to do something, but of course I compromised what I really truly wanted to do based on fear. That's what I'm talking about. When it's based on fear of a partner, that's not compromise, I don't believe. I believe that's doing something because of fear. And to each their own, when you're in that, obviously I believe safety first. And that's also safety first when it comes to risk taking, whether you're with a partner or by yourself. Always think of your safety and your security first. So we do want to be responsible when we do break the rules and live our charmed life. Even for me, somebody who's so free and so rebellious, I also still want to make sure I'm thinking of safety, I'm thinking of security, I'm also thinking of my partner and the mutual respect. And again, that trumps the fear, but also like financially respecting myself because that also you've got bills, you've got family. Some of us got small kids, some of us got older kids we need to take care of. Some of us have pets we need to take care of. Some of us have obligations we need to take care of. So you want to do everything mindfully and respectfully for yourself and for whoever you are in union with. So I do want to mention that.
Yes, I agree. I agree. It's such a delicate puzzle, right? It's all a puzzle piece, right? And all these puzzles, you want this charmed life, you want this thing, right? And when you step back and you look at this charmed life that you want, there are little pieces of the puzzle that have to combine together. And how do you do so without breaking your integrity as your own person, but without also disrupting all of the other things that are a part of the puzzle. So it is definitely a challenge, but once you and like what Kathy said, live life unapologetically. And I love that she said that because there are things that may not align with somebody else. There are things that it's not their standards, it's not our standards and whatever, but that is how that person chooses to live their life, and that is how they're going to create their charmed life in a way that may not be aligned with another person. It may not be understood in such a way that's like, I don't get it, and that's okay because to each their own, right? And to each has their own way of like living that charmed life. And it's your path, right? Whatever your path is. So if your path is to go in this direction and you know that you're going to disrupt certain things, but that's something that you have to do, then by all means, like go that way. If your life is, I want to, kind of delicately put it or whatever, then go that way. I think everyone has like their own path. We have a journey. Everyone has a different journey to a charmed life, but I think what it all boils down to is really tuning into self, self, and where are you as a human being? Where are you in your soul and your soul of souls? Like ask that question about you and go with it.
and break some motherfucking rules along the way. Because look, you are always one step away, one decision away from a completely different life. And it could be the life you've always imagined for yourself. And I hope it is. And on that note, we're going to wrap this up.
This was amazing, Helen. I love this conversation. I love that we talked about breaking the rules and living that charmed life because there's so much more to talk about in this particular conversation. But for our listeners out there, I hope that you tune in, you reflect, and you ask yourself what it is that you truly want. This is the start of the new year, January 2025. Welcome to January. And what is it that you want to live for this year? How do you want your life to be? And step out of it. Step out of that comfort zone. Step out of what you have put that chalk, that invisible chalk around you. So erase that chalk and step out of it. And that's how you'll live and reach to your charmed life.
So thank you everybody for listening. If this episode has touched you in any way, please leave us a written review on iTunes, star or written review on Spotify. By you doing that, it really helps support our show. And we are trying to get more listeners, gain more followers so that way we can keep providing these awesome episodes for you. So please share this episode with your friend. We appreciate it so much. Also, January mentioned earlier, you can join our Facebook group, Sexy, Successful, and Soul Fed, a safe place for women so we can share our ideas and help each other grow and cheer each other on. You can find me, Helen Edwards, on Hell of a Journey. That's HELOFA, and then the word journey. You can also find me on Sexy Freedom Media, or just Google my name, Helen Edwards, and my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom, which is available on Amazon and Audible. Again, please reach out, and I thank you for listening. January, where can they find you?
You can find me JanuaryLiddell.com. That's LID as in David, D as in David, ELL.com. You can also find me Anchored Financial, both on Instagram and Facebook, and Alina, the Honeymaker, on Facebook and Instagram. I am the author of Alina, the Super Saver. It is a children's book about financial literacy, and it's available BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, Amazon, of course. It is available at Win City Books in Casper, Wyoming, and also at Open Door in Indiana, and Barnes & Noble's here in Hawaii. Thanks for listening, everyone. Aloha.
Thank you. Ahia.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.